Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
Yo, abusafo. Eye Togbe Afede. Oye the Agbobo Mafia of the Asogli state. Na Onwa Saye the president of the Asogli traditional area. Na ye nyina ye nim se na oye the former president of the National House of Chiefs. Papa yi abekasa. Na ne nkasa ye mu no odi nsem bia to e de fa eye AGYAPADIE document ye appear free eye Achim Mafia no camp. Na saa semi okano wo bra na omampani John Dramani Mahama eko na tenaye anase na so eye ekuchia no se waba eye voter regional okwakoye eye ne campaign. Na saa ensemi mu ena eye Togbe Afede echire mu a ono de saa document ya wate say yesi a leaky free Achim Mafia camp yi wate but na on person wo gidi kopem say emu nsam a na ewo mu no chese na ni din ni companies din nyina ewo mu na enyoma a omotwire gu mu so no ese ombe yade afa ne company hu eno a na omudidi no abusia muntie o Togbe Afede, former president of the National House of Chiefs. Obi a Ghana ha okuta plant baako a ono ne plant no ko offer Ghana nyina be ko off. Na enkrofo yi amafia no me person ko ye ko ni ko tie mafia omodia mafia no efri eye saa AGYAPADIE document yi mu. Na oka ne nsem de akire omampani John Dramani Mahama. Abusia aha PENDREAM TV message say obe subscribe to the channel, like video no na share to other platforms mo so nya bi enhwe na message say o hwe nyina no na wo de wadwen kire de wo dwene nyina eto comment section ase e wase o fato so twere ne me kan ne so yehu wadwene na yehu sa djuma ye bo no ha no emu eye pa abusia yanko na yenkotie information no said the Togbe Afede isika ne nsam no esifae.
Your Excellency, former President of the Republic, and my good friend John Dramani Mahama, the Volta Region Chairman of the NDC, and the rest of the entourage of His Excellency former President, on behalf of the chiefs and the people of Asogli, and by extension of the Volta region, it's a great honor for me to welcome you to Ho, and of course the Volta region as you start your campaign tour of the region. Great honor to be seeing you for the second time in 3 days. You are with us over the weekend, and I'm glad I will get here again today. It's always a joy to see you. Let me take the opportunity to congratulate you, first of all, on your 24-hour economic policy. As someone who believes in hard work, I believe this is what we need. And it's obvious that the application of this policy in the manufacturing sector can indeed be a game changer. When you buy plant and equipment, it is for you 24 hours a day. If you choose to use it only for 8 hours, there's a little chance that you will do well, because the manufacturers of those machines have made them to be operated for 24 hours, and that determines the price at which they are sold at. airline industry. It's always in the interest of the airline to ensure that the aircraft is airborne always. That is how you make your money. And it's also particularly important because with the advent of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, we in Ghana need to expand our production capacity so we can take maximum advantage. It has been established that we are far behind those countries currently in the pilot phase as far as exports to our counterparts are concerned. And I'm aware that Nigeria recently launched an ambitious $50 billion program to expand production and therefore exports to Africa, taking advantage of AFTA. So I think your policy is a sure way of making us ready to also export to other African countries. And of course, by so doing, expand employment. The factory that runs for 8 hours, one shift, decides to do 3 shifts. At least theoretically, they can expand factory labor force threefold. And of course, lower cost of production per unit and become more competitive. So I think it's a great policy. We all deserve. It deserves all of our support. I've also recently read about your newly launched youth policy, and I find it also very exciting. In particular, your plan to engage the youth in decision making at all levels of government. I think it's a good step forward because the future belongs to the youth and it's about participate in the decision making process. Thank you very much for that policy. I'm also very excited, Your Excellency, about your promise to review the payment of ex gratias to the privileged few who enjoy ex gratias in our country. I think you have all of our support. The Constitution does not mandate, does not make compulsory. It just asks that a committee or committees decide what ex gratias selected employees should entitled to. It could be the case they are not entitled to it. It certainly is not the case that they must be paid. And worst of all, for people to get ex gratias or end of service benefits multiple times in their lives. At a time when we are not able to pay our NAPO employees, we are not able to pay our national service students or graduates. So I think that is also a thought in the right direction. Let me also congratulate you on your exoneration in the Airbus case. I think it's good news, not only for you, but for all of Ghana.
Sure.
Because it would have been a stab at the back. It would have been a dashing of hopes if you were to be found culpable. So congratulations on your exoneration. Your Excellency, I want to take the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. The gathering, and of course with Ghanaians at large. You said it rightly that indeed there is a lot of work to do. Yes, there is a lot of work to do. What I will talk about will all be facts. It's not about politics, but it's about things that matter to the average Ghanaian. There is a fine line between partisan politics and discussion of politics. Of course, we chiefs are banned from partisan politics. But the reality of the matter is that we are also victims of everything that happens in this country. We suffer consequences of every wrong thing that happens as much as we enjoy all the good things that happen. So we cannot stand aloof as far as our developmental issues are concerned. And very importantly, to the chiefs of the people every day, indeed every hour. So when they put in difficulty, the first place to go to is the paramount chief's house. So chiefs naturally must be concerned about happenings in our country. So I'll share my thoughts. Your Excellency and my fellow Ghanaians, the dream of every Ghanaian is to live a good life, is to be happy. Indeed, our founding fathers believed in our ability to manage our own affairs, bring development to our people, bring employment to our people, and bring happiness to our people. And that's why they said that the Ghanaian was capable of managing his own affairs, and they fought hard for our independence. Of course, our constitution has also carried the same dream and prescribed under the directive principles of state policy that the state shall be managed in ways that bring economic prosperity, brings employment, and brings happiness to all Ghanaians. And of course, it also requires that opportunities be created for all Ghanaians to participate in the development process. Yes, I believe we cannot manage our own affairs. And I also believe that we have everything that it takes to ensure that our people enjoy decent living standards. Thankfully, the good Lord has endowed us with a lot of resources. Apart from our human resources, young, growing population, we have so much land that is uncultivated. One of the mineral resources, named the gold, diamond, manganese, bauxite, molybdenum, iridium. We also have oil and gas. Ghana has more than 80% of the wealth endowment of the world. Indeed, we must the reality is that the state of affairs is not very good. Our country has become heavily indebted.
Observe mon fan check kakra na ase signal no problem kakra on but emu besate enche we the mother room.
Now about almost 800 billion currencies. Meaning that the average Ghanaian owes about only 4,000 currencies. The sad part is that we are so indebted, and yet we still have a lot of the basic amenities that should make life better. Coming to go from Accra, I'm sure you also the people are indeed suffering. Worst of all, just as you said, we are suffering massive unemployment. Particularly, we are suffering massive unemployment, particularly among the youth. Recent statistics suggest that unemployment worldwide is at the lowest level now in 15 years. But we are still suffering massive unemployment. So when you combine massive indebtedness with high levels of inflation, high levels of city corruption is our worst enemy. And that is why, again, I'm happy about your promised commitment to fighting the canker. There have been too many scandals lately, from the PDS scandal to Ameri scandal to the cathedral scandal. Just too many. And it's extremely embarrassing to read these things every day. Ghanaians, for their patience. This one has ensured that Ghana has continued to be stable and to be peaceful. And I pray that Ghanaians continue to be patient and believe in the democratic process. And more recently, we are hearing about something called AGYAPADIE. And sadly, my company is also mentioned in that book. My small strategic African security is also mentioned in that book. I find it difficult to believe that that was a genuine document. But of course, certain things that we go through give us thoughts to the contrary. I recall that in 2019 thereabout, we received a letter for us to sign, pre-written in our name, to sign to resign from the group of companies that advise government on its bond issues. That came as a shock. Another time, we had a commercial paper outstanding with a state-owned financial institution that had not matured. Suddenly, we had debt collectors at our door demanding repayment of money that had not matured. So when I reflect on some of these things, then I begin to wonder. And only about 2 months ago, Iyoko was at a small factory that we own in Tema, Pioneer Kitchenware. It's just majority share owners of a company that is going through hard times, closed down. We're thinking of reviving it. And Iyoko was there because PKL allegedly was owing rates to Tema Development Corporation. And you wonder, what did Iyoko have to do with indebtedness of a small company to, So when you look at all of these things, then you begin to rethink about your view of AGYAPADIE. But again, you just reminded me about my involvement in the setting up of Data Bank. So that makes it even more surprising that after helping to found that company, I could also be a target.
Data bank no krampa eye ken oforia tade no. Data bank na eye ken oforia tade no. Oni efense Togbe Afede eneteye. Oni Togbe Afede, like Togbe Afede di na adwene ni nim de na boa no ma de no epeke e fae. Afi sorry, enkofo ba power mafa kwan mi so edina ka AGYAPADIE document no nkrofo a wase yi omu firim na ye break your mo stream of money na ye mom ho che omu chese wase yi onu firi onu yi ni firim na afi na djuma soso okura no eno soso ye mafia omu wati ase na Togbe Afede eka no Data bank kenufori atadia. No, but
again, you just reminded me about my involvement in the setting up of Data Bank.
Data bank.
So that makes it even more surprising. That after helping to found that company, I could also be a target.
After helping to found, meaning he was part of the founders. Onye just a mere helper. He was part of the founders. Actually, Muntie, he was part of the founders.
That after helping to found that company, I could also be a target. Anyway, but a lot of scandals are part of the problems that have drawn our country back. And these scandals have become possible because in Ghana now there is no little respect for the truth. Truth, freedom, and justice are all principles that are currently imperiled. It's difficult to know when you are hearing the truth and when you are hearing otherwise. I just read today that even the ownership of the newly commissioned gold refinery is being disputed. So the lack of truth, the lack of transparency, lack of accountability are all part of the problems of this country. Those have made corruption possible. If you have to fight for our development, we have to deal with corruption. We have to deal with accountability. We have to deal with the truth. There is always only one truth. Your Excellency, again, so much is politicized in our country. So much is politicized. Development is politicized. Even our football sometimes is politicized. Whether a community voted for the president or not, they also deserve development. Personally, I think opposition is what makes victory sweet. So political leaders must not hate their opponents. After all, you've won. You have to be very magnanimous to those you've defeated and accept everybody as part of this country and therefore deserving of whatever this country has to offer. But so much is politics in this country. There were many projects that we tried to undertake that had possibilities of waivers, and you find it difficult to get some of those waivers, particularly for manufacturing plant and equipment. But let me tell you the interesting about football. You know, House of Folk is a club I control. We're in Africa with our counterparts. Our counterparts are offered money by government who are not giving money. That is the kind of politicization that is not good for this country. Pettiness that's not for this country. And you recall recently for the first time when there was a cup tournament, a team was brought from Cote d'Ivoire to come and play our counterparts. Quite against what has been the norm. Cup tournament. A team was brought from Cote d'Ivoire
because
come and play our counterparts.
How say Togbe Afede House of Folk omu fence team no president nti na aban se mu ekobo tournament yebema Asante Kotoko fuosika. But because so Togbe Afede na president to House of Folk nti no ya ma musika skanibi abusia muntie o sports cry di fence mafia wura ho because of Togbe Afede nti na che say House of Folk ananka oko relegation nyina no e aban yi o aban we intira because Togbe Afede ho bon house no ono e na okura house said ye utumfo say tutukuta ye asante kotoko no saa na Togbe Afede so onso ukura House of Okum enti sa wo na ukura House of Okum dia se team no konya ni munyama na che se bi be kan ena ebi kan a na che se anhwa na che se wo free voter ni nti na NDC fo ho akofore mu enti ete saa dia we mouse can be. Can you imagine abusia
government who are not giving money
tie
parts we're in Africa with our counterparts are offered money by government who are not giving money. That is the kind of politicization that is not good for this country. Pettiness that's not for this country. And you recall recently for the first time when there was a Republic Cup tournament, a team was brought from Cote d'Ivoire to come and play our counterparts. What against what has been the norm. So when I talk politicization of development, politicization of issues, these are the kind of things I'm talking about. Those don't augur well for national cohesion and the unity that we need to develop our country. And those are things that we all have to work together to fight. I can continue with the fact that the private sector does not enjoy the honest support that it deserves. And that also affects our development. Many policies benefit cronies, benefits relatives, benefits friends, to the exclusion of others. That is not fair. Whether we belong to party A or party B, we are all the same people. We all deserve whatever the nation has to offer.
Exactly.
And I think a fair-minded leader, a leader who wants to ensure national unity and cohesion, should aim at that. To ensure that everybody can have fair opportunity. So we don't come with virtually predatory policies that are targeted to benefit a few people. We heard about how PDS was touted as a, structured to ensure majority Ghanaian ownership, only for us to realize that those were special, Ghanaians who are going to enjoy that majority. That is not the kind of development strategy that we need in this country. If we have to approach private sector fairly and for it to make development possible, we must be very, very even-handed and see that we all Ghanaians to start with. So cronyism has not been good for our country. And I'll ask that anybody who emerges as leader of this country tries to be a president for all, not a president for just a section of the country. Again, as I said, opposition is what makes victory sweet. And sometimes you get a lot more guidance from those who oppose you than from those who support you. So let's value our opponent. Our fiscal policy. We see so much reckless borrowing. We talked about it already. Very reckless borrowing, reckless decisions, reckless spending, wasteful spending. We all recall how abruptly the road tolls were removed just one day without we saw how road tolls were taken away abruptly and we now are bringing them back. That is massive loss to the state. All the revenues that would have been collected over the period. In fact, many of us at that time thought the road tolls were even too low. Little did we think that the government would have thought that they were necessary altogether when we needed so much money, when we couldn't pay our NAPCO employees, we couldn't pay our contractors, and etc. So mismanagement has been part of our problem as well. A lot of knee-jerk decisions, a lot of politically biased or influenced decisions, those have not been good for our country. And if you recall when Speaker AGYAPADIE was here in November or December of 2021 when I spoke, I did say at that time that if Ghana was a company, Ghana would have filed for bankruptcy. That was like 1 full year before it finally happened in 2022, when by trying to renegotiate our debts, seek haircuts, and etc., appeal to the IFC, we effectively filed for bankruptcy. And I did say at the end of last year also that Bank of Ghana was technically bankrupt. Little did I know that they were indeed going to be asking for recapitalization. So we have not done very well in the management of our economy. So CD deflation is still very high, inflation rate is still very high, and there is still massive unemployment, particularly among our youth. So these are some of the challenges that will confront our new or our next leader. And these are things that you as a prospective leader, Your Excellency, must be preparing for. Very briefly, let me also talk about the bastardization of most of our institutions. Most of them have become politicized, even chieftaincy institution, the judiciary, the security agencies, just name them. They have lost their independence and therefore their ability to safeguard our democracy as required of them in our constitution. Those things, again, I mean, it's all in our interest to ensure that the foundation of our country and its democracy remain very strong. And I think a selfless leader should aim at ensuring that all institutions of state are very strong and are capable of doing their work. Only then can we sustain our democracy, our peace, our stability, and our progress. Your Excellency, all of these things require leadership. I think what we have lacked most of the time in our country and most of Africa is leadership. Leadership that is genuinely committed to the people, committed to the cause of development. Leaders that see themselves as servants as opposed to lords of the people. And I think these are some of the difficulties, that have confronted our development over the years. Your Excellency, all of this mean that, as I said earlier, our people are truly suffering. They are suffering the consequences of lack of development, lack of progress. The consequences of mismanagement have become burdens on our people. And these are all threats to our stability. If we have to be stable, if we have to guarantee our future peace, we must ensure that the majority of the people at least are happy. People who are happy value their lives.
True.
And are less likely to resort to violence. That is why prosperity is an important pursuit by most government agencies as a way of ensuring happiness and therefore peace. So, Excellency, we are facing a lot of threats, but I believe that we can turn it around. I'm an optimist, maybe a slave to optimism. I believe that we can turn around our fortunes, but it will require, among others, that we rededicate ourselves to the values that are enshrined in our national pledge, in our national anthem, and also in our 1992 Constitution. Those values can ensure that we come together as one people and work honestly towards the development of our country. Those values to ensure that we work together in honesty to build a great country. Those values will allow us to leverage our natural resource endowments, agricultural resource endowments, leverage technology, leverage private sector capacity to generate the growth that will bring the development that we need, to bring the financial stability that we want to see, to strengthen the city, and also to create employment for the masses of our people. So I believe all of this is possible. Committing to the values in our anthem, our pledge, and our constitution to leverage the potentials that our country has in agriculture, the mineral sector, and etc., to industrialize and therefore create growth, generate employment, stabilize the financial markets, stabilize the city, and ensure decent living standard of our people. But as I said, it will require, among others, very importantly, great leadership. Leadership that respects its commitment to people, its obligation to the people, leadership that is humble, leadership that is not vindictive, leadership that is honest. That is what we need, Your Excellency. With that kind of leadership, we can pursue the honest planning that we need to leverage our resource endowments to generate the required growth and also development and employment for our people. But it will also require, as you yourself have suggested previously, a good constitution. We have all accepted that our constitution has outlived its usefulness. And I'm happy that you have committed yourself to continuing the work that had been started previously to review the constitution, amend it, and ensure that it's in tune with our development requirements.
Sure.
I think the constitution requires massive amendment if it's supposed to help us develop. And I think that's also one of the stumbling blocks in our development. Finally, very briefly on the forthcoming elections. I believe the forthcoming elections is not just about His Excellency Mahama or His Excellency Baumia or any other candidate. It's really about the future of our country. The future of our country is at stake. So we have to examine carefully our needs and then decide accordingly. These coming elections will be very, very seminal indeed. It will define the way forward for our country. And I think we should all work hard towards ensuring that it is free and fair. The future is at stake. Let's ensure that we all work together to have a free and fair election, the result of which will give us the candidate that we want. Let us all come together as one people. Let us not be divided on the basis of tribe or political affiliation when it comes to matters of our development. So let us come together to defend our democracy. Let's come together to defend the truth. Let's come together to ensure that our political leaders do what is right for us, do what is right for our country. It doesn't matter whether you're from the north, the south, the east, or the west. Whether you're a Dagomba, a Hausa, an Ewe, Ashanti, it does not matter. We all have only one country called Ghana. And we need to stand together to defend that country and to ensure that we cannot be taken for granted by our leaders. So I ask that we all pledge to defend our country, we all pledge commitment to our constitution, and we all uphold the values that are enshrined in our constitution, the values that are embodied in our national pledge and in our national anthem. Only then can we play our part as citizens, not spectators. Only then can we have our voices heard by our leaders. And only then can we be part of the definition of the future of our country. And I want to ask that the EC, that commission, commits itself to doing its best for our country to ensure that we have a free and a fair election, so that the peace that has defined us as Ghanaians over the years, our enviable, peaceful environment, can be sustained into the future, because that is very important for our development. Your Excellency, I want to thank you once again for coming. Second time in Ho in just a few days. Again, we are happy to have you back again, if your time permits. And I want to wish you, on behalf of all of our people, success in all your endeavors as you tour the length and breadth of our region. Thank you very much for coming.
Togbe Afede. Togbe Afede. Wakasa. Ane Togbe Afede. Wadene samno edi atudwa. Wakasa. Urano with kasa. In fact, I am seriously impressed with the way Togbe Afede spoke. Yes, seriously impressed. Look, ebre asun say yen leaders e wukrum ha semo ya asofo, semo ya ahemfo, semo ye opinion leaders, whatever you people are, semo ye imams mpanyifo ne ho nkeka ho. Ebre aso say ye tumi call a spade and not a spoon. Ebre aso say ye di nokure de maye man. Ebre aso say ye ka nokure echire tumi. Nya afei na wo de be wadare na wo de mane na asam no ntimi nka wo bra wo ye ohene na wo te krom ha bi. Me de pa say Togbe Afede kan say yes, ewo mu say constitution na say omo enye politics. Ahemfo nye politics. Nembum politics are ekoso okrom ha nyina no, the consequences no etia omo bi ka omo ka omo nye se bi ka bi na ka omo etia omo nti etoda na ewo so omo ka no kre etumi kire tumi ebre na so se ewo se ahemfo no tumi ka no kre kire omampanyin akufu ado se owura wa mane oman na say. And I like the way Togbe Afede call nsam so straight. Ma yehu some as economy no asay. You do mean to workers ka. Bank of Ghana co bankrupt. You see the depreciation a pasca. And ne bibia jinsam ye institutions, security institutions are politicized. Judiciary are politicized. Wakasa chire isi. Se monso so munya munyoma yi. Wako straight to the point. Nyoma ewo krum ha sell krum no. Wasi krum ha munjai tribalism. Lead or yehia leaders o mo kanokre. Ye betimi aboa going forward no. Leaders e kanokre. Leaders o munya vindictive. Leaders o munya tyrant. Leaders o be honest with the people. Leaders o munya kronfo. O mu nesamri here to resolve our problems. So Togbe Afede can say ya no person what say leaders who they are vindictive, they are tyrants, they are saying they are corrupt, they are dangerous, they are dishonest, they are not truthful, or can say no person or chere. What can it straight? These are the words we want to hear from our leaders. In fact, he was even trying to be, trying to address some of the issues now. And a brand so say I was it to me kind of correctly to me. Nanka be person corner direct to me ka a pop or mampina kufu the dean catcher and say, look, when I president of Ghana, it is your responsibility to make sure that there will be free and fair elections. Your statement that you are all over saying say you are not going to hand over to the opposition leader Mahama is wrong. Never say that it is wrong. In as much as your political party is also in the race, does not mean that you will jeopardize with the peace and unity of this country. I was so optimistic catcher or can see the name a brasso abusiafo a brasso say a can of to me. Mamo ma yen twentwen ye nan ase ebre na wie du se wo se ye ka no credit chire tumi na tumi hunu se biribi wo wi ase Togbe Afede kasa. And this is what we want from our leaders. Ahimfo aka, this is how, like you people should be harder. No mu say oman no agija asay atetia pansam say utimi mafia or hene all because obi onu wate bank wa yina firim assign a mafia ne companies as destroy ne nyoma asa mo amunim eye World Trade Center ewo National Theatre side ho monko hwe eye Togbe Afede de monko hwe today it is not functioning like then. Oma yi businesses ekoho na nka ekoho nyina oma fa kwan bi so ayi businesses ni nyina firi ho ama ne uko eye efense World Trade Center ho no City House ho no hwe nkoso ho obusua dining na go empty because o man pedini Akufo-Addo unim na ko rent down ho taxes bi e de be brew ne ho ade no wa na obedwane afiri ho ni nyina because Togbe Afede ne ne de antini mafia no breaking the stream of finance ne stream of finance and as the sikasem stopping no na wache den dia na wo beji na wunim say wo say ni sikasem a it will affect the economy of Ghana. You don't know. Munim say asikafo ente saa omusi cash economy ni mu no the more now do nsa ka omo no the more na affect economy no because the number of people who are working under him, the number of people are ono ni sika a da oman ni mu na go oman ni mu no support the economy no a huge to the extent that o touch na ebeka the foundation of the economy. No wonder send the bre omana jiji atitia pansam. I think these are some of the ways you're person in pain for a casa. To oman payini sorry Togbe Afede yada was say what to me I can't no cre actually to me. Yes, giving another opportunity, say it even more harder. Yes, say it more harder. Let's call a spade a spade. These people can't feed any of you. They can't feed you. They can't feed you. Omumu bebro ha obit me twa omoka. Call start ball bra no mundru baby ya. Eye tumi e no mabeje e no mode boy kro no. Wo mbeje obi atumi. Eyo anda omumpo e na sebio wo ex gracia ko mo de brɛ okra wo kan se wo nje o mpe omonfa enko boa mo browafo wanje because you don't need it. You don't need it. Enti omono muntimi hwe Togbe Afede they can't cater for you. Omuntimi nya hwe mawo. Ti mumma alkukuduro no nye kese mon kasa nkyere omo montutu jago nso mo hu se nyoma no enkoyi ma sei nyoma e okruma for I have PENDREAM TV. Make sure also subscribe to the channel, like a video, and share Emma other people's mom so and sentiment can be shipping. Make sure also watching our comment section. I say Eddie Amayen PENDREAM TV. I say Adam Yopo.
I am a boat Wakana. It is a castle, or may you hear my. Then nam a memoir enquiet, a come there.
The country where I come from, the truth is irony. Just like animal farm, justice mean inequity. So who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence, Islamic leaders silence. Kings and queens, silence. Traditional leaders, silence. So who could say the truth? We are them go so confused the call. Now by area why no baby. We are them go so confused the call. One guy's oh yeah why no baby. Who could say the truth? Who go say the truth? Oh, he be to na si was so. Na your friend na yan kamasem. Onipa bi obeka na sembia. So anti wan kwa obechi wetu. Everybody was afraid. And unti na nantuma koteti ajenai. Once na bodon pin one anachi. But who go tell the truth? Nanai or say me. Nanso bien person beka wasam because everybody is afraid. Anya safwe muayini. Akuku drofo nyina danima. Enti who go say the truth? Obiadra konson so to grow your man set to me be a cacobrafo. Efo anyina ye. Efo. When you know ye. Na so kutrata down na so be dia back or why no keke. Afene fo be manu mo piafo efo e. Ne cross on my mo. Hanya safwe mo ayini. Akuku drofo nyina dalima. Enti who go say the truth? Abaya di bote chino. Yedi bi bebo nyande bi. Kachi se udi oma upipi numa. Udi oma never shine my frafonsa. But who go tell the truth? TUC, silence. Even journalists, silence. Oh, then who go say the truth? Right is right, wrong is wrong. No matter how you justify. You say you wanna get rid of corruption. Someone want to help you. Now the person become your target. Jobless no they mean senseless. Poverty no they mean useless. One day them go resist.
My never say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.